Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening.
My name is Franks Bashir-Opong, and your name is?
My name is Walter Jr.
Welcome, thank you.
Alright, so could you please introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Reverend Jude Ezika. I am the Deputy General Overseer of Achievers Faith International Ministries worldwide, and also the Director of Missions for the Achievers Faith International Ministries worldwide as well. But obviously, I pastor one of the local churches in Leeds of the same church.
Right. So could you please talk about Pentecostalism in the UK?
Pentecostalism in the UK is quite is quite huge in the sense that before the sort of what are called African-led churches, there was in existence, the white-led Pentecostalism. It was quite a very good, huge movement. And I still go back, to the Azusa revival in Los Angeles. That brought some level of light to Pentecostalism. But it sort of evolved to a point where a lot of the migration from Africa to the UK and to other part of Europe, and that migration, one of the fallout of those migration is the African initiated churches began to evolve. And as of today, there is a huge, presence of African-led churches, African-led Pentecostal churches in the UK, and the existing side by side by the white-led churches. This divide, as I'm trying to explain, in my view, shouldn't really sort of exist. Really, I know that. Christ is one, and ideally, there are some white-led churches which, in a normal circumstance, should also have some African presence there as well, and vice versa. But just for the purpose of your question, the African-led Pentecostal movement, began following the migration of African people, to Europe and the UK. That's how the African-led churches began. That's fine.
Is it right to say that African pastors have Africanized Pentecostalism?
I think I sort of disagree, with that. It's a concept and it's a notion, really. But the point is that, Christianity, which obviously the Pentecostalism fall under, we preach Christ, and you see, I've not found in the book, the manual, the Bible, where they say Jesus is an African, or Jesus is. So to some degree, there are traditional churches. There are churches, obviously, who come together. Remember, the church is a community of people, who come together because of their leadership is from a particular African state. Are you me? And people are attracted to these churches most of the time because of its leadership. For instance, if I was born in Nigeria. If I come to the UK and I'm leading an African church, there could be a possibility that people from, my background, sort of Nigerian people probably may be able to find, they can find it comfortable sort of to come to the church that I'm pastoring. As you said, sir, you said you were born as a Catholic. Yes. Why did you convert into Pentecostal? Because my parents were Catholics, so we are. Very ardent Catholics, and they were committed, and they believed in it. But remember, that time I was a minor. I did not have the capacity to make decisions for myself. So I sort of had to fall under the umbrella of my parents, because they were taking me to church. They took me, I had my water baptism. I grew up, I saw those photos, and even they sort of believed in Catholic sort of doctrine, and to the point that all my siblings, even myself, went to sort of Catholic schools. I passed through the Catholic seminary, and all this is because my parents are Catholics. So they made those decisions for me, and I went through a Catholic seminary. But it got to a point, like I said, I came to a point where I'm able to make decisions myself. I came to a point at what in law we say age of majority, point of maturity where I said, let's hang on a minute, this is all good, this is all fine. But there are some practices, there are some doctrinal issues, because, like I said, they sent me to seminary school to be a priest, but I loved family. I couldn't imagine myself growing up without having children or maybe a wife. And you see, what I want in life, obviously now began to conflict with the Catholic doctrine, of priesthood. So I had to sort of make that decision, and I said, listen, it's all about me here now. I'm grown up. My parents thank you what you've done, but I think it's all about me now. So that sort of led me to that departure of leaving a Catholic church to a Pentecostal church, where the church allows me to sort of marry and have children and family.
So why did you wait for the last minute to change? Because as a priest, you don't get married.
The thing is, I didn't wait for the last minute. Like I said, remember, back in the days in Africa, like I said, you are under the roof of your parents. They determine what you do. They determine the schools you go. You don't even make that choice yourself. So those choices were made for me by my parents. And having enrolled, in a seminary school, which is what they call like present high school, and to the point of a senior school, senior secondary, and that point, I came to a point where I can make decisions myself. At the point where I was about to write my what they call ordinary levels, the O levels, at that point I was getting to a point of maturity, and I said, listen, this is not good. This is not what I want. It was a fantastic foundation for me. I was taught prayers in the Catholic seminary. I was taught a lot of good morals, which still guide me today. But like I said, at that time, I was still I was still a minor, so to speak. I've not attained that age where I make decisions for myself. So as when I was in the senior seminary, and when I got to that point where I was able to make decisions, then I told my parents. They were disappointed. They were frustrated, But I said to them, I know where I'm going. It's all about me. You've lived your life. So that was what created the departure.
What challenges, what obstacles have you been facing as a Pentecostal pastor?
The point here is that, ministry, we have said among the pastor circle, is hard work. I see. There's a whole lot of challenges, beginning from, or rather commencing from the doctrinal challenges, even the challenges in practice, and the challenges, in dealing with people. But I will start from the doctrinal challenges, because see, there's a whole lot of African-led churches coming up, and it's not my place to criticize anybody, but you see, the thing is because there has been a whole lot of thing in the media talking about the wrong practices of most of all these pastors and churches, and that has sort of rubbed off on a lot of churches. Because the more people hear you as a pastor, they look at, oh, so this is somebody that these guys are after our money. But that's untrue. We are doing some serious work. We are turning communities around. But because of the negative the negative reports and the reputations which are not helpful, associated with some of all these other churches, probably who are not doing things the right way. There's a general view that all pastors are the same, particularly those who are not, within the Pentecostal folk. So those are some of the challenges. Right. I can also talk about this issue of one of the big ones. Things like tithe, for instance, which has been widely criticized because there's been a whole lot of misconception, about tithe, and particularly some other pastors, the way it has been taught, the way it has been practiced. To a point where people are now fed up, of the whole thing, and you see, these things have a way of impacting on people who are doing the real thing.
So, what training will you advise anyone who wants to become a pastor like you to have?
I will obviously, besides the theological training or what they call Bible school training, where we are giving the rudiments of theology, I will encourage every aspiring church leader, want to be particularly those in the pastoral ministry, to go through some level of ministry courses, because the ministry courses are courses where you are taught the act of ministry, being able to deal with people, being able to, look at the practicalities of church management. Are you with me? Those are quite important, because in a church we have different departments, and you should be able to facilitate the department and ensure that they run. And besides those sort of theoretical framework, I will really advise that any aspiring church leaders, particularly pastors, you stay under a very senior pastor for some sort of informal training. Because ministry is caught. I've always said it's not. You can go to Bible school and come out and mess about, But whereby if you sort of put yourself under the mentorship and guidance of a senior pastor who have been in ministry, number one, you learn from their mistakes. Number one, you learn from their experience. There's a lot to learn. I have started one place for over 10 years. For over 10 years, it's a decade, and I'm still learning every day. Every day opens you to a new learning. I mean, if with time the Lord leads me to go and do a work, I think I will have a wealth of experience to be able to approach that work. But in the present day, we have a lot of young people who are so much in a hurry. They go to Bible school 6 months, come out next day, they create a Facebook account, and they are apostles. You have not pastored one member. Your first ordination is an apostle. How do you explain that? Are you with me? So I mean, and this is responsible for the grace you see in Pentecostalism. It's responsible for the malpractices you see, because they are not properly mentored. Nobody has taught them. They're just people who have just come out and carry people without mentorship.
When the Holy Ghost is absent, many things will go wrong. Oh, confusion among pastors, hatred among pastors, striving among leaders, wickedness will be, fornication will be, adultery will be in the church.